Welcome back to another Bachelorette recap. I cannot believe we are already at overnights, fantasy suites, whatever you want to call it. This week is brutal. I think it's just a really challenging week because there's so much mentally that goes into it. You know that people are getting off-camera time. It can be super overwhelming. Just a really tricky week to navigate, whether you're the lead or a contestant. It's a tricky time. So let's jump into it, starting with Xavier. Whew. I recapped last week's episode on the Vile Files. We were all so torn on this, on Xavier. It seems like there's a really strong natural chemistry between Charity and Xavier. I think that so many people relate to this in the real world. I know I do. Probably the person in my life that I've had the most chemistry with was the worst person for me. He was the guy you just clicked with. I felt like we were best friends. We had really great romantic and physical chemistry together. And he's also the guy that cheated on me. And not to say, I am not saying at all that is gonna be who Xavier is, but the conversation that they had at dinner about his past and how he was fearful that that past might repeat itself. I think that was just so clear and so telling. I want to give credit to Xavier for being open about that, because I do know that a lot of men that have cheated or that do cheat just lie about it, and they pretend like they're these angels, that they would never do that. I think that that's probably more damaging, more misleading, and I do want to give him credit for like opening up about this. My thoughts on it, it's like, dude, like you gotta get into therapy. Like you have this fear that you can't commit to one person. If you don't want to commit to one person, that's actually okay. There's like communities, relationships, there's people that are open to having an open relationship, and if that's something you're looking for, like there's no judgment. So I do want to be respectful and say like, hey, I actually think this is a deeper, bigger conversation. And maybe you're just not a monogamous person, or maybe you want to explore a non-monogamous relationship, but that's not what Charity's here for. That's not, well, you know, actually, it literally is that. But it's opposite. It's like Charity's dating multiple people. It's for the show. It's for entertainment. It's not because the intention is to be in a relationship with multiple people at the end of this. And I'm not even saying that that's what Xavier wants. I'm just keeping an open mind and trying not to be judgmental, because I think it's better that he brought this up rather than to lead Charity on and leave her in the dark on this topic that has obviously been weighing on him. If Xavier wants a long-term committed relationship with one woman, ultimately, if that's what he truly wants, I do think he needs to be in therapy and he needs to be talking through these issues, because it seems like he has a genuine concern and a genuine worry. I just want to take a moment to applaud Charity for how she handled that conversation. I was a little bit worried at first. She was very open-minded, and it felt like she was trying to give him an opportunity to say like, this was a previous feeling and fear, but with you, I feel secure, and with you, I feel confident. And I feel like she was kind of like setting him up to be like, hey, here's your opportunity to move forward with me. And he wasn't stepping up to the bat. He is not at the emotional maturity or like understanding of what he wants. Like it doesn't seem like he wants a monogamous relationship right now. Charity wants a monogamous relationship. I applaud her for giving him multiple opportunities to really explain himself, really express himself. She made it clear that she was not mad at him. I think that's important because we don't know. I always think that with these shows, I'm like, people are so different and we don't know what somebody's experience is or how it has shaped them. Personally, I think there's no excuse for cheating. I think it's one of the most awful things that you can do to another human being. Like if I were in Charity's shoes, I think I would hope that I would handle it in a very similar way, where you're open-minded to the conversation. You're like, let's discuss this, let's get to the bottom of this. But it doesn't seem like Xavier has gotten to the bottom of this conversation himself. He needs to be talking with somebody, or, you know, and I think everyone should be in therapy, but I'm like, or he needs to be having these conversations with himself and really understanding what it is he wants. And where is this fear coming from? Is it rooted in something deeper? Not my business, but I applaud Charity. So graceful through that entire conversation. I think it was amazing that she has decided, you know what, we don't need a fantasy suite. We do not need to take an overnight. This is not what I'm looking for. And although it was painful and you could see like this, broke my heart. Like you can see that Charity really, really cared about Xavier, and she really wanted him to step up and to say the right thing and to be the right person, but she recognized that he was not saying the right thing and he was not the person that she needed or that she wanted. Like he is not the man that she was praying for. so incredible for her to just say, I think that it's best that we just go our separate ways. I'm good. Like, I respect that. Charity, I applaud you. You are incredible. You are a phenomenal bachelorette, because that is a tough conversation to navigate kindly, and you did so incredibly well and so beautifully. Next up on the overnight dates was Joey. I thought his explanation as to why his Uncle Joe made those comments, I thought it made perfect sense. I actually suspected this last week when I was discussing this on the podcast with Nick and the crew. I was like, it's very possible that he just felt weird. Like, when I went home to be with my family, I remember thinking, I've been doing this for like a month and a half now. Like, I get why they're asking these weird questions, and they ask you to repeat yourself, or they ask the same question 3 different times, or they throw out like conversation starters, because they have essentially producing. Like, that's how the show works. And once you're there for a month and a half, you kind of get used to how it works. But when you're suddenly with family, and you've brought in a film crew into their home, into their environment, and you're like, I know this is weird, and like, I feel uncomfortable and a little bit judged right now. And it's a little bit uncomfortable. You're mixing 2 worlds together. I remember feeling like, oh, I want to appease production. Like, I know how this works. I know how to be efficient. I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. But with my family, I want to make sure my family's comfortable, and I want to make sure that they feel okay, and that they know that I'm okay. This is a weird thing, and we all know it's weird, but you kind of just do it. And watching Joey's hometown, when they kept saying, is this the real Joey? I remember thinking, it's probably just uncomfortable. And then for him to bring up the topic of people pleasing. Again, I so identified with this, and Charity did too. And I actually think a really interesting discussion, like, I want to have a deeper discussion on this, wanting to make sure that everybody is comfortable in the context of when you start dating somebody as a people pleaser, or as somebody that just wants to have harmony. Growing up, when it was time to decide where we wanted to go to eat that night as a family, I didn't care. Mexican food is my absolute favorite food, but I can eat Italian, I can eat American, I can eat any type of food. So when my parents would ask me and my siblings, where do you guys want to eat? I'm generally gonna say, I don't care. I'll eat wherever. Even though deep down, my hope is that we're going to a Mexican restaurant so I can get chips, salsa, and queso. Like, I'm just such a go with the flow person, because I'm not gonna be bothered. If we go to Italian food, I'm gonna be happy with some breadsticks. What can be tricky for people pleasers, we want to be considered, and a lot of times we're a little bit like shyer or more meek to make our needs or our desires known. And like, my absolute best friends in the world are super considerate people. I tend to surround myself with people that are considerate of that, and they're not just like, oh, Susie doesn't care, like, we can go wherever we want because Susie's not gonna complain. Because the truth is, I'm not gonna complain, but I might not hang out with that person again. Same thing in dating. If I'm dating somebody that just takes advantage of the fact that I'm really laid back or easygoing, I won't end up dating that person very long, because I will feel like they are inconsiderate of me. Because I will voice my opinions, and I will, say my needs and desires, but I'm not the loudest voice in the room when it comes to that. I think sometimes people do take advantage of that, and I don't surround myself with people that do that, and that's why I think my friend group reflects that, and I think the long-term committed relationships I've been in also reflect that. I've dated people that were highly considerate, very sweet, like gentle people, that when people ask me my type, that would be my type, because I feel like those are people I can communicate with better. I totally related with Joey and Charity when they were kind of describing this about very easygoing, and it's not always gonna be this perfect. I know right now it might seem like this, but I do have needs and I do have desires, and I do have preferences, and like, those things will come up down the line, and it's not always gonna be this like sunshine and rainbows that you see on the show, because there's really no environment on the show that makes it that super divisive, or you have to like express those things really in a really challenging way. Dotun. Okay, Dotun is the third fantasy suite day of the week. It started off so strong. Just Charity brought up the sort of prayer that she had with Dotun's mom. You can just tell. I mean, she loved his family. I think it's really important to love a family that you're possibly going to marry into. I don't think that's a deal breaker, because you're marrying the person, not the family, but the family does come with it. So I think the fact that she even made a point to acknowledge that love and that bond between her and his mom just shows how special that relationship really is. I'm gonna be so shocked if it's not Dotun, especially now that Xavier's gone. I don't know, maybe they're hiding the relationship with Joey. I don't know, it's so hard to say, but I just think there's something so special there with Charity and Dotun. I mean, I adore her and Joey as well. Like whoever she is with, or you know, Aaron now, because we've thrown that in there. Whoever she is with, I am genuinely gonna be so happy. She has great guys at the end of this, and I really feel confident that she is gonna be so happy with her decision. But I personally feel like Dotun is so in. He is so mature and grounded. He knows who he is. I don't know, I'm praying it's him, but I'm just praying that whoever it is, they are happy. As I mentioned, Aaron coming back. Wild. I mean, obviously we all knew from the previews that someone was coming back. I think we knew it was Aaron. I was kind of shocked. I mean, I just like didn't know what was gonna happen. I was like, is he coming back with information? Is he coming back to say something about one of the guys? I really didn't know what his angle was, and I'm really shocked that it was that emotional for both him and Charity. I actually think it was like kind of sweet, but I also think that Charity made her decision, and I really respected what she said at the end there, where she was like, you know, I wondered if this was the wrong decision. I wondered if I sent the wrong person home, but I became confident in my decision. I said, I have made this decision and I'm moving forward. I think that's a really beautiful way to look at it. As somebody that doesn't believe in like romantic soulmates, like I genuinely think that there are people in our lifetime that we can spend our life with and we can be happy. Like so much of it comes down to a choice. I think that when you make the decision in your brain and in your heart to move on from somebody, it's good to respect that. And there's this quote and it says like, just because you're sad doesn't mean you made the wrong decision. And that is something that I think so many of us experience. It was probably really confusing and sad for her to let him go, but I think she made the right decision. It sounds to me like she's in love with Joey, she's in love with Dotun. She's really like right there with both of them, and she's kind of like in the process of falling in love with Aaron, and she has two phenomenal guys. Two incredible guys with two incredible families. And I don't know, but I imagine next week she's probably going to forward with Joey or Dotun. That's my guess. I just feel like she's further along with them. And maybe in the real world, if there were more time, it would be different. I feel like Aaron had his moment, and maybe he's the next Bachelor, or maybe he's gonna be on Paradise. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's the last we'll see of him, but I don't think that he's gonna end up with Charity. I'm really excited to see what happens. This feels like such a juicy finale. Like this has actually been such a good season because I really don't know what's gonna happen. So proud of Charity. She has been absolutely incredible. I love watching her on my screen. She's so beautiful, so well spoken. So funny. I love her little giggle and her laugh. She's just precious. We, like as viewers, I feel like we just have fallen in love with her. I'm really excited for Men Tell All next week. I think I'm gonna be home in Virginia, so I might recruit some friends to do a recap with me. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching this, and I will see you next week.